our bodies. We will nourish our mind, and it starts with you. Lauren talked about it today. It is so important that you believe in you. Right, Gary, you've got an amazing way of talking about authenticity.
Oh, no question.
I would love it for you to share with people.
Yeah, you know, the last time that I was here, we talked about it. How many of you guys remember the talk about authenticity? Remember, there's something called the Spain Scale of Emotion, which was one of the most in-depth spiritual studies ever conducted on the planet, and they found that the frequency of authenticity is the most powerful frequency to leave a human being's body. And remember, authenticity only happens in one instance. It requires two things. Number one, that your words are truthful. And number two, that you believe what you're saying. And one of the reasons why I'm on this stage, and this is just coming straight from my heart, I am not paid to be here. I chose to be here because I deeply believe in what you guys are doing. I really do. I am not stupid enough to think that I can change the world, but I am smart enough to know that all of you can. Right? And we have a big mission to touch the face of humanity. I spent 22 years of my career predicting how soon human beings would leave this planet. For 22 years, if I got 5 years of medical records on you and 5 years of demographic data, I could tell the insurance company exactly how many more months you had left on Earth. Eventually, as some of you are aware, I began to realize that there were human beings on the other side of these spreadsheets. There's a human being on the other side of this data. And I made a conscious decision to leave that industry and spend the balance of my lifetime touching the face of humanity, teaching people how to live healthier, happier, longer lives. That's why I love the mission.
It's so wonderful, the mission that we're on, the mission that Gary's on. And there's another element I want to bring to light here. It's that authenticity, right? That truthfulness and then that belief. But there is something that each and every one of us has, and that is connection. Connectivity is also part of what allows you to raise that energy, allows you to believe in yourself while you help other people believe in themselves. It is also why we can be so successful sharing what we do here through health and nutrition products, through weight management products, through skin and personal care products, because we know that we are here for the right purpose or the right reasons. We are wired to be a part of each other's lives. We are wired for movement, we are wired for community, and we are wired for service. The thing I love about us is that we elevate ourselves because we find ourselves in service to something greater than us.
Yeah, you know, in 22 years of clinical research in the mortality space, one of the things that I coined was a phrase that I believe is the most impactful thing about how human beings age. I define aging as the aggressive pursuit of comfort. The more aggressively we pursue comfort, the faster the body ages. We have got to stop telling grandma not to go outside, it's too cold, not to go outside, it's too hot. Just lay down and relax and rest. To eat at the first pang of hunger. You are destroying your body's defense mechanisms. You know if we don't load a bone, it will not strengthen. If you don't tear a muscle, it will not grow. If you don't challenge the immune system, it weakens. But the body needs resources, right? And this is why I say, if your morning is hard, your day will be easy. You know, I love everyone to start the morning doing 3 things. Applying a cold stress, a thermal stress to the body, as simple as taking a cold shower. How many of you are doing cold showers right now? Right? Do you know that they've discovered a protein in the liver called the cold shock protein? And when you get in ice cold water for 30 seconds, your liver panics and tries to save your life. And it dumps these cold shock proteins in your bloodstream, and it scours the body of free radical oxidation and skyrockets the rate of protein synthesis, muscle repair, and it's free. And you do this before you take your supplements. Cold shower, apply a physical stress. I prefer weight training exercise, and breathe.
So I guess I'm getting a water.
And then if you eat and supplement, you will start the day as a superhuman. I promise you that. And one of the things I am so fascinated about, the reason why I keep taking this stage, is because the structure of your supplements is astounding. You know, I've read clinical research for the last 22 years of my life. And a little known fact about the way that research is conducted is some of it's conducted very poorly. They take cells out of the human body and they put them in a petri dish in the lab. And they study them in the lab. Cells are like human beings. They exist in a community. If I isolated any human being in this room for the balance of your lifetime, your life expectancy would cut by 70%. You'd lose 70% of the balance of your lifetime if you were put in isolation. It's the same with animals when they break from the herd. The same thing is happening inside your bodies. Your cells are in communities, in families. The thing I love about your supplements is you put supplements together in communities. Not just the big factors like the vitamin D and the vitamin C and the B vitamins, but you put all of the cofactors in there that community needs to thrive. Waste elimination, repair, detoxification, and regeneration. 300 billion times a day, you change to new cells in your body. That's why every 84 days, you are a completely new person. Do you know 84 days from today, not a living cell in your body will be with you that's with you right now. So it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. You take the proper supplementation. This is why I love the Isotonics line of products, because I've dissected these like you cannot imagine. I could go deep down a rabbit hole right now. But so many companies, I don't think that you're good because they're bad. I think you're good because your team is great. Because what they've done is they've done the research for you. They put these cofactors in with vitamins that help cells get the nutrients that they need. Like I say, cells are like communities. There's a little kid that was just born. There's a mother raising it, and there's a grandfather about to leave the earth. This is how cells work, and they all need different nutrients. And this woman has figured this out, right? That's why I love it.
You know, many of your customers are thinking about it and thinking, what is it that I can do, right? Many of your customers, quite frankly, have a biologic age. They've spent more time, they've spent, their biologic age is such that it appears greater than the number of trips they've taken around the sun. Because your lifestyle does dictate the health of your body, for better or for worse. The sleep that you are getting or you're not getting, for better or for worse. How your immune system functions. Are you able to quench free radicals or maintain nutrient delivery to the brain? And as Gary said, it comes down to making sure that you don't just have a leading actor, that you don't just have a trendy ingredient. Right? Innovative ingredients are fantastic, but they need to get to the site of cellular activity. They need to have cofactors that push them, amplify them, and quite frankly, clean up the mess after the party.
Yes, no question. Cellular activity is a very dirty process. If you don't get rid of the waste, if you don't eliminate the exhaust, it can back up and blow the engine.
And that is why we supplement. Because we know that we want to create cells that work better. That is why we focus on age management. That is why we pay attention to all of these formulas the way that we do. As Gary mentioned, not a single cell in the human body functions or operates independently. Nothing in nature acts in exclusion. I love that, Gary.
That's so true. I always say that the lion does not wake up in the morning and negotiate. And neither should you, right? It should be non-negotiable. Just like your dreams are non-negotiable, right? Just like your aspirations are non-negotiable. Your authenticity is non-negotiable. Your morning and your supplements should be non-negotiable. Your body should get used to those raw materials, right? You should be used to taking these raw materials because you will function at a different level. I lecture a lot about the major pathologies that affect the mind. And we spend so much time talking about mental health. I'd like to spend some time talking about mental wealth. Because we are wealthy in our mind, right? And if you went through the list of the top 10 psychiatric diseases, you would find that number one, they are not genetically inherited. Number two, we can conquer these with raw materials. By the way, these are biophysiologic facts. The database that I had access to for 22 years had 370 million lives. And I can tell you, more pathology and disease is cured by putting the right raw material into the human body than ever by adding poison to the bloodstream. If you have ADHD, you are not deficient in Adderall, right? If you are depressed, you are not deficient in an SSRI. What's happening is neurotransmitters are being depleted in the brain. You don't even define depression in this country as an inadequate supply of serotonin. So by definition, if you are low on serotonin, you're depressed. But you know what we do to treat depression? We put people on SSRIs, which just rations what little serotonin you have. So by definition, it never raises the level of that neurotransmitter. So by definition, it never ends depression. And this is why patients come in to see me all the time, and I say, how many years have you been on antidepressants? And they say 18 years. I go, well, when did you think it was going to kick in? Right? But if we understand, 44% of this country is on an antidepressant. I do not believe that 44% of this country is depressed. I believe that they are undernourished, right? They are missing the compounds that are in the formulations that you create. B complexes can methylate serotonin. Do you know that we make serotonin in the gut? The neurotransmitter that causes depression, 90% of it is here. If it's not here, you can't have it here. Right? So how do we turn the serotonin factory back on? How do we get the body to take the amino acid tryptophan and turn it into the amino acid serotonin so we can eviscerate depression? You take the B complexes and the zincs and the magnesiums and the light metals in the morning that your body needs to make this conversion. And then adequate serotonin appears in the gut.
And that is the exact...
Who's with me on that? Yeah.
Woo! And that is the exact commitment that this company has to you, to source the very best ingredients, to source the very best forms of ingredients, and to formulate them to that end, to formulate them for that highest quality supplement, because we know that results matter. Now, it's true, there are a lot of different forms out there. We're going to see how well that goes.
Oh, we going down here? It's like a rock concert.
I'm going to go ahead and do my Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night Fever impression right now.
I like this whole setup.
Supplements do come in many forms, right? We want you to know that we focus on the right ingredients, in the right amounts, and in their synergistic formulation. Now, different forms have different advantages and disadvantages. The most important element that I want you to take away from our supplements is not often the milligrams that are on that label, but often we ask the question, or we always ask the question, can we get those nutrients to the site for cellular activity? How well are those compounds delivered, and where are they delivered? Unlike many other companies on the market, we ask these questions, which is why Gary can say we've got the cofactors that allow us to do what we do, right? We offer the very best products. We understand that they start with innovative ingredients, but we also appreciate that they require intelligent delivery. We have products with an emphasis on delivery. I don't know if you guys know this, but isotonics is not the only thing we're killing it with. We do this for an emphasis, right? Not on novelty, but on bioactivity. To make sure that that exhaust that Gary talks about, to make sure that those cofactors that are absolutely what? Non-negotiable are present in these products. Here, people will ask me often, you could have any supplements you want to. You're, like Gary, probably introduced to so many different product lines. Why market America's product line? And I can answer it just like this. Because if your supplements are destroyed by stomach acid, or fail to reach the body, right, fail to reach the area of the body they are intended, then your supplements are poorly designed.
It's so true. Does anyone know what a probiotic is? What are probiotics? They're bacteria. Do you know what the function of the human stomach is? It has one role: to kill bacteria. So if I'm going to take a probiotic, which is bacteria, and I'm going to swallow it, and it's going to hit the stomach acid, and the stomach's job is to kill the bacteria, then if I don't protect it from the stomach acid, how much of that probiotic do you think hits the intestine? Zero. And this is why I'm so fascinated with the formulations that you have, and why I get here and edify it, because I look at so many phenomenal probiotic products that have multiple strains of probiotic and tons of the right bacteria, 50 billion bacteria, and it's $55 at Whole Foods, so it must be good. You got to put it in the refrigerator, and then you swallow it, and it opens, and 99% of those bacteria are killed by the stomach. And then you pass dead bacteria into the intestine. And this is why, if you look at probiotic research, they do things like fecal transplant. I won't get any details about that. That's a nasty one. But it works, or when they protect a probiotic from the stomach acid like you do, now the probiotics open in an alkaline environment, in the intestine where they're supposed to, and they start to live in the neighborhoods where they function. How many of you have allergies, or know someone suffering from allergies right now? I bet 70% of the hands in the room right now do not have an allergy. I'll tell you why. Because the speed of the gut is more important than its contents. You see, the human intestinal tract is like a giant conveyor belt. You put compounds on it at one end when it exits the stomach, very acidic, and it moves down this conveyor belt until it exits the rectum in a very alkaline environment, right? And if you ask someone if they have an allergy, ask them what they're allergic to, and they're like, oh, no, wheat, corn, soy, dairy, blueberries, and bananas. Okay, you'd be dead. That's all 9 of the essential amino acids, right? Ask yourself this question: if I'm allergic to corn or gluten or wheat or soy or dairy, can I ever eat any of those products and not have a reaction? Most of the time people will say yes. Sometimes I can eat corn and not have a reaction. Right there, you know you don't have an allergy. Allergies are not transient, they are consistent. You're not allergic to milk on Monday morning, unallergic Wednesday afternoon, and re-allergic on Saturday morning. Right? What's happening is you are deficient in light metals, B vitamins, and cofactors. When you're deficient in those cofactors, the speed of the intestine changes. Imagine if you have a conveyor belt and everybody is standing along this conveyor belt doing a job, and then one day I just walk into the factory and I double the speed of the conveyor belt. What happens? The whole entire line breaks down. Gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, irritability, cramping. And then you think about what you just ate, and you link your gut issue to what you just ate, instead of linking it to the lack of raw material and the cofactors that your gut needs in order to move at the right speed. Right?
And that is the magic of a better delivery system, right? Because vitamins, minerals, and these compounds, Gary, they don't wait in line.
No.
They need to have a facilitated approach to absorption. Isotonics are some of the most innovative nutritional supplements available today. Have you ever had to try to overcome why there are carbohydrates or nasty sugars in your product, people think? Right? It is because it controls for exactly what Gary was just describing. That conveyor belt, how effectively, how efficiently nutrients are delivered to the small intestine, ensuring that they do not spend a prolonged period of time in the stomach exposed to stomach acid, being degraded, so that they are not going to do what? Reach the small intestine for absorption in a concentrated manner. They're either going to get there too soon, and it's going to be the conveyor belt that Gary just talked about, right? Or they're going to get there degraded. Isotonics are some of the most innovative products available on the market today, and it is because we put carbohydrates in them, which control for gastric emptying, allow the nutrients to be concentrated, intact, ready to do the job that they were meant to do when they get to the small intestine. And those same carbohydrates assist the absorption of the product, allowing us to show higher bioavailability, blood serum peak values with our products. But that is not the only thing. Gary had mentioned probiotics and making sure that they can survive the digestive tract, the digestive juices. At the end of the day, if a compound or nutrient is delivered too soon, the body also may not benefit. It may leave the gut, but now it has to survive digestion. We need to be able to get nutrients to the large intestine. We need to be able to get them to different tissues through the bloodstream. It's exactly why we have products like time-release technology products with our probiotics 10, with our children's chewable probiotics and our NutriClean probiotics. Too often companies will choose to use coatings, fillers, or binders to slow down the decay of a product to stop it from being delivered too soon. But what they fail to do is understand that there is a better choice. A choice that Market America makes because we offer that time-release technology, allowing the formula to work with the body's natural physiology. See, time-release technology, what it does is manage both degradation of the ingredient and also ensure proper delivery. It's ideal when you need a formula, like Gary mentioned, like probiotics that require a consistent intestinal release. Something where we need something to get to the large intestine, but without the help of time-release technology, it would never get there. It couldn't survive digestion.
And if you don't get it here, you don't get it here. I mean, I'll tell you a little secret about the brain. Most of us would love to think that our brains are very sophisticated. It's not. The brain is very primal. You know what the brain cares about? The brain cares about survival, right? The brain's nasty. The brain's like the little Kim Jong-un of dictators. It sits up here and it just takes everything for itself. If the brain wants calcium, it'll strip it from the bones. If it wants amino acids, it'll rip it from lean muscle tissue. So if we deprive the brain of raw materials, depleted of neurotransmitters, then we drive pathology and disease, right? We had a saying in the mortality space that the absence of dopamine is the presence of addiction. So when you start to deplete dopamine in the brain, it drives addictive behavior. This is why if you've ever been an addict or known an addict, addiction has a tendency to shift. It really has a tendency to not go away. Because we treat the physical addiction to Suboxone or nicotine or alcohol, but we don't treat the dopamine deficiency. The dopamine deficiency comes by converting 3 amino acids, which are readily available in your bloodstream, in your gut, into the neurotransmitter dopamine. Dopamine goes up to the brain and satisfies addictive behavior. But the deck is stacked against us. This is why I love recruiting an army. Because I'll tell you about something you've probably never heard of. Take a pen out and just write this down, because I want you to Google it when you're done. It'll blow your mind. It's called the TAS1 R2 receptor. TAS1 R2 receptor. You've probably never heard of it. It's a sweet receptor on the back of the tongue. Only the interesting thing about this sweet receptor is it's connected directly to the brain's release of dopamine. It's the reward system. There are entire laboratories full of PhDs right this moment in the chemical industry, in the food industry, and the pharmaceutical industry, dedicating lifetimes to nothing but the study of that one receptor. Now, why would chemical companies study the TAS1R2 receptor? Because if we can get you to like a food, that's good. If we can get you addicted, we've got you. Artificial sweeteners were first designed for addiction, not for taste. Artificial sweeteners were first designed to ding the TAS1R2 receptors. You will find artificial sweeteners that have no sweet taste in tons of products because it's designed to force the release of dopamine so that you don't like that food, you are addicted to that food. This is why I tell people to snack on exercise, not on food, right? The next time you have the impetus to eat a bag of chips, do 10 air squats. I'm not kidding. Wait to see how good you feel. Right? If you have the impetus for a candy bar, do 10 overhead touches with a deep breath and see if you still feel like doing that. You get the same release of dopamine as you will from dinging that receptor from an artificial sweetener. Right?
And that's exactly what we need to be paying attention to. But we need to be paying attention to those alternatives, those different choices that we can make. Right? And Market America has the opportunity to evaluate cutting-edge ingredients all the time and then ask ourselves, is there a better way? Are there better cofactors? Is there a better delivery? It's one of the reasons why I love multi-phase release technology, why I love the idea of our Thiaminol capsules. Because unlike regular capsules, and these are the things I want you to know because it's what creates the why are we superior? Why are we that product that you want to be taking? How do you create value, not just with the community that you're building, but also by understanding that we put thought into this design. We put thought into our formulation. See, that multi-phase release, it allows the supplement to effectively adapt to the individual's physiology. Not just the conveyor belt that we were talking about, Gary, but also the needed nutrients. See, not all nutrients are compatible with each other. And multi-phase release technology allows us to pair together products, ingredients, that would have an incredible synergy in the body, but are otherwise incompatible in supplementation. So we simply found a better way. But most often, what we do is we copy nature. We take a whole root. We take the whole source. A great example is our curcumin extreme, where we use the essential oils that are naturally found in the rhizome of this root. Right? Because they help with that bioavailability. They ensure, unlike many commercial products, that the raw ingredient will get where it's supposed to go. Because nothing in nature acts in exclusion, and nature, she's pretty intelligent. So if it can survive through nature, if it was developed over centuries, it's got some wisdom in it, and we extract and take on that wisdom. Now, Gary, this is all fantastic. We know that we need to supplement. We know that there's a better way, that the cofactors, the formulation, and the delivery matters. But is there a way to kind of distill this down to the essentials, the non-negotiables? So Gary and I will often talk about how the body is set up in redundant ways. right? It needs the same enzymes, it needs the same nutrients, it needs the same hormones to mount a healthy stress response, an immune response, and a repair response. But if you are constantly in repair, Gary, if you are constantly in repair, do you have any of those raw ingredients, those needed elements to support you with your hormone response, or your immune response, or your stress response? The body goes, or these nutrients go, as you said, ripped from the muscle where they're needed. Right? And because the body is set up in these redundant ways, with these redundant switches, we have to make sure that we're giving the body all of the raw ingredients that it needs, but that we're also paying attention to those steps we can take to create wellness for many, many years.
You know, there's not a single compound known to mankind, not one, that enters the human body that's used in the format that you put it in. Not a protein, amino acid, not a mineral and nutrient, a vitamin, nothing that enters the human body is used in the format that you put it in. Every human being in this room, the most important process that your body goes through is called methylation. It's where we convert raw materials into the usable form. I always say that we pull crude oil out of the ground, but you cannot put crude oil into your gas tank, right? Because the car doesn't understand that fuel source. Crude oil has to be refined into gasoline, and now the car understands that fuel source. It's no different in the human body. Every material that we put into the human body has to be refined into its usable form. If you cannot make this conversion, then you are deficient. And if you are deficient, this is what leads to pathology and disease. How many of you have heard that hypertension or hypothyroid or hypercholesterolemia or depression or anxiety are genetically inherited? They run in families, right? They're genetically inherited. Next time you talk to your doctor, ask them if they can tell you what gene causes any of those diseases. We've mapped the entire human genome. We know every gene in the human body. Somebody stand up and tell me what gene causes those diseases. That gene doesn't exist. If that gene doesn't exist, then it means that that disease does not exist. What we pass, I got goosebumps. I don't know if you're close enough to see that, or one of you super zooms can zoom in on those things, but I've got goosebumps telling you that. I have spoken to rooms full of physicians and watched their face go blank when I say, "You treat patients for a genetically inherited thyroid disease? What gene causes that disease?" Because I don't know. We know every gene in the human body. So what happens is we don't pass disease on from generation to generation. We pass on the deficiency in raw materials. That's why what you're doing is so good. It's so good for humanity. It's so good for mankind, because you are restoring faith back in human beings, back in mankind. This has the power to heal this, right? That's the message that we need to get out. That's the message that we need to get out. You know, I told you last time, can I take like a 1 minute diversion? Sorry, I get all excited and I start going off the cliff. But so last time that I was here, I promised you guys, because I've been really down this spiritual rabbit hole of science, and I love the cofactors and the nutrients you have, but let me tell you what they do for you. I promised last time that I was on the stage that if I had the time, and I ran out of time, that I would teach every single person in this room how to, in 60 seconds, get into an authentic state. I have watched this become the most powerful attribute in my entire lifetime. I have watched the frequency that leaves my body change the frequency of another human being's body. I can empower every person in this room to get into an authentic state and change the frequency of the people that you're communicating to. When you have a team call, you can do this before your team call. When you are speaking to a potential prospect, you can do this just before speaking to them. If you have a big business meeting or a contract or a closing or a conversation with your kids, you can do this before you have that conversation. It will materially change its outcome. You guys want to know what it is? Okay. It's $5.99. You got to buy my ebook. That was the hook right there. Thank you. So remember that the brain, although very primal, it doesn't know the difference between perception and reality. If you drove home tonight and got out of your car and somebody was standing in front of you with a knife, you'd have a flight or flight response, right? Well, you could be laying on the 30th floor of a condo building thinking about getting eaten by a shark and have the exact same flight or flight response. Am I right? Yes. So the brain does not know the difference between a real and a perceived situation. You can take advantage of this through visualization, and I'll explain it. The next time that you are about to have an engagement where you want a certain outcome with your kids, with your spouse, with your downlines, with your teams, with someone you are prospecting, I want you to take 60 seconds and do this. First, I want you to take a really deep breath. I want you to hold it for 7 seconds, and I want you to let it out. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to set your intention for that engagement. When I walked on this stage today, right before that curtain opened, my intention was to provide value before I walked on this stage. And the third, thank you, and the third and most important thing is visualize the outcome. Don't ever visualize the event. Visualize the outcome. Prize fighters and UFC fighters that I work with do this. They actually visualize themselves winning the fight and their hand in the air. They never think about the fight. So then when they have pain during the fight, they keep going because they know they won. Your brain will already think you've been there. You just turn the brain on its own axis. You set an intention, which changes the neurotransmitter cascade in your brain, and you visualize the outcome, so you're now not nervous, and that person will feel that frequency and watch it change the outcomes for you. All right, thank you. Dude, I love you guys. I spend all day up here. I absolutely love you guys. It's my wow.
Best part of this, right?
All right.
Woo! The best part of this is that it's obviously very clear with those three things that a healthier lifestyle doesn't have to be an imposition, right? What if instead we talked more about that one thing that you were going to do, right? Imagining the outcome, right? Paying attention to how we wake in the morning and the words that we choose, right? But also the supplements that we choose. What if it was just as simple as saying, I'm going to go ahead and get started with one new healthy habit? You know, Gary, you mentioned the alternative, the dopamine feed, right? You have trouble making these steps, just take the first easy step. Put on your runners, put on your kicks. You don't have to go for the run, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a whole lot easier to go for that run if you've already got your kicks on. Well, the same is true for supplementation, right? People say, it's so hard, I can't change my daily habits. Well, how about we get started with something very simple? If 8 servings of vegetables a day are difficult, how about we get started with a multivitamin? Quite frankly, it's the easy button. And it is the step, it is the one step that someone can take to start changing their life. Our products at the end of the day do make living a healthier lifestyle easier for individuals. Raise your hand if you take more than one product. Okay, now leave your hand up if one of those products is vitamin D. I'm telling you to look around because nobody put their hands down.
That's my favorite.
Vitamin D, every cell in the body has a vitamin D receptor on it. Meaning that vitamin D may be the single most cost-effective solution you offer a customer that says, I don't know, it's hard. I don't really think I can make those lifestyle changes.
Yeah, do you know that, does anybody know how many vitamins a human body can make? Human beings only make one vitamin. There's hundreds of vitamins in the bloodstream of every single person in this room. You are only capable of making a single one. You know what it is? Vitamin D3. We make it from sunlight and cholesterol. So if God made us with the ability to make one vitamin, how important do you think this is to human function? The truth is, most of us, 85% of the world's populace, is clinically deficient in vitamin D3. Not a single cell in the entire human body lacks a receptor site for vitamin D3. This was the second leading cause of morbidity in COVID. First was morbid obesity and diabetes, followed by clinical deficiency in vitamin D3, right? You guys have the power to change that. Just that one move alone for yourselves, your families, and your communities will make an impact on humanity. If you heard that COVID disproportionately affected minorities, that was true, but it had nothing to do with them being a minority. It had to do with the pigment of their skin. The darker your skin, the lower your vitamin D3. The lower your vitamin D3, the more compromised your immune system, the more susceptible you are to viral pathogens.
And what is so important for people to know is not the chemistry of vitamin D, right? The fact that it is derivative of cholesterol, but what's in it for them. You want to share what's in it for them. Vitamin D is a hormone chemically similar to your sex hormones. It's why we use it in age management, right? When we are
That's excellent.
talking to individuals about improving their health, we know that this has similar activity to hormones. And so we can share anti-aging messages, right? Did you know that your brain has vitamin D receptors in it? It's why vitamin D is often utilized for mental and emotional health. You talk about it being a source from the sun. And many people in low sun atmospheres or low sun environments often find themselves also with low affect. Vitamin D plays a role in all of this. Now there's something that probably a lot of you guys already knew that vitamin D was important, right? You already knew that it did a lot of things. And I'm not sure if your customers know that. That's why I want you to share with them mental, emotional benefits, blood sugar health benefits. But there are other really powerful ingredients out there. A uniquely beneficial compound is astaxanthin. It has benefits for eye health, fitness, female and male health, right? Similar to vitamin D. It's profoundly beneficial in the gut, profoundly beneficial for the immune system. But something that I know is near and dear to your heart, Gary, is that it is unique because it quenches something called a singlet oxygen radical.
Yes.
And when there's elevated singlet oxygen radicals, there is less oxygen capacity within the body.
And that actually leads to insulin resistance in the brain, which, if you've heard me speak before, is the genesis of Alzheimer's, right? Alzheimer's is not Alzheimer's, it's type 3 diabetes. It's insulin resistance in the brain, right? We have this myth that people that have Alzheimer's are losing their memory. That's not true. They're losing access to their memory. Their memory is not fading, the access to the memory is fading. Astaxanthin, I can't say that word, you say it?
Astaxanthin.
That's what she said. But I actually know what it does. If you'd like, I'll get into the chemical formulation so you know I'm smart. But I can't say the word. Okay, I'm like dyslexic up here. But combined with vitamin D3 and certain oils, certain omega oils and MCT oils, is what fuels the brain to metabolize the glucose and not build up amyloid plaques, which are the genesis of those diseases.
It's so important for us to pay attention to the science behind products, but also the value behind these products and individuals. That's why that vitamin D and astaxanthin is so impactful. Because it works in so many different areas of the body. That when people are talking about value, when people are talking about how they want to spend their healthcare dollars, I want you to talk to them about how you are willing to help them spend their healthcare dollars responsibly. And that's why you'll talk to them about things like OPC3, vitamin D, astaxanthin, and omega-3 fatty acid. Because just like nobody ever said, I have enough closet space, no one ever said, I have enough health. So I want you to take action. I want you to think about something that you will add. If you're someone that put their hand down and you're not using vitamin D, I want you to start thinking about vitamin D. Whether you're taking our isotonic vitamin D or our anti-aging with 5,600 IUs or 125 mics of vitamin D. I want you to think about taking action. Take advantage of our 30th anniversary special and get started with our isotonic astaxanthin, real astaxanthin. One of the most clinically evidenced and supported astaxanthins in the nutritional marketplace. Now, Gary, we've told them something that they already knew, that they need to wake up and they need to take charge of their day.
Yes.
We've told them that supplementation and daily habits matter.
Yes.
And while many of their customers may not know about all of the benefits of vitamin D or astaxanthin, right? Well, they may not know about that exhaust or that cellular debris or that somebody's got to come in and clean up after the party. Right? It's an easy concept for us to share with each other. So I thought we would take the last few minutes we have together and tell them something maybe they didn't know. Yeah, I want to talk about the benefits of the gut-brain axis. See, we have our pancreas to help us with insulin, our kidneys to help us with our blood pressure, our gallbladder and our liver to help us with detoxification. But Gary, what is actually doing all of the lifting for those organs?
Well, they call the gut the second brain, right? There are hundreds of books published on the gut-brain gonadal axis, right? Our emotional state begins in our gut. If you ask me, Gary, what is a mood? What is an emotional state? Like, what is that? It is nothing more than a collection of neurotransmitters right? If you said, what is happiness? Well, that's so much norepinephrine, so much epinephrine, so much dopamine, so much serotonin. Boom, you have the emotion of happiness. So emotions are recipes. What if I start to deplete just some of the ingredients of that recipe, right? It's like going to a bakery chef and saying, hey, you can bake whatever you want, you just can't use butter. Doesn't sound like a big deal. It's one ingredient. But now think of how that would affect cookies and cake, pastries and pies and candies. But the same thing happens in the human body. We deplete a raw material, and then we call this mental illness. But the problem is that we've actually depleted a raw material that's a necessary part of an emotional state. If I remove serotonin from the brain of every person in this room, you will not only instantly be depressed, but you will not be able to manufacture elevated emotional states, passion, elation, joy, arousal, libido, all the hell yeah, I won the lottery emotions. This begins in the gut. So woo! Yes, this begins in the gut, right? And so what happens is the gut forms these neurotransmitters, they travel up a little ladder called the vagus nerve and they enter the brain. And MIT just published an incredible clinical study that when an area of the brain called the amygdala receives these neurotransmitters, by the way, this is the area of the brain where every single mood, every emotional state that you can feel is felt in the amygdala, right? The interesting thing about the amygdala is that it's the only gateway to your memory in the hippocampus. Do you know that a human being can only access our memory through your current emotional state? This is why the last time you had an argument with your spouse, you recalled with incredible accuracy every other time she made or he made you feel that way, right? This is why they recalled that. You know, you did this in September, you did this when my boys came over, you did this on the 19th, and you did it on the boat on Memorial Day weekend. It's like, whoa, what a memory. You can't find your socks in the morning. You sure laid out every one of those times I pissed you off, right? That's because that emotion linked to that memory. But our memory drives our conscience, and our conscience is our future. So if we don't control the emotional state, we lose control of our future. And that emotional state requires the raw materials from the gut, right? So your future begins in your gut. I hate to tell you that. And it begins right here.
What have I been telling you guys for years? The road to health is paved with good intestines.
I might actually steal that one.
But it is in fact the gut. And so we've created two amazing products under the new Access Nutrition line. This is to focus on the gut-brain axis, the connectivity of the gut to the brain, but also the network of our organ systems. Because when your gut is not healthy, your brain is not healthy. And when your gut is not able to create short-chain fatty acids, and that's why we created the Advanced Digestive Support product, with an amazing ingredient called Core Biome, with clinical studies to show that those short-chain fatty acids make it to the large intestine and create energy for the body. Because when your gut slows down, your liver slows down. And when your liver slows down, your thyroid slows down. And when your thyroid slows down, your brain slows down. And when your brain slows down, your gonads slow down. And that's all about quality of life, my friend. I need all of it working and networked together. But you brought up something so powerful, which is the connection to the mental state.
Yes.
Not just the cognitive state, but the mental state. And that is why we put together Access Nutrition Mental Emotional Balance. Because this truly incredible ingredient in this product called saffron doesn't just help with mental emotional health, but it also helps when hormones and neurotransmitters lacking in the gut are creating a state of low affect. So that's why we created it for 12 years and above, because we know that hormone fluctuations also impact the gut and the axes in the body. Saffron also has a unique capacity to help short-chain fatty acids act and create GABA in the brain. It is all about connection, my friend Gary.
Yes.
It's all about the gut-brain-body axis.
I believe that. I really do.
You guys, thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys.